Yeah, we are live.
I'm
Good
dancing
morning.
in my
Good
head.
morning.
Dancing in my head.
Dancing in your head. Better do
Yep.
this on gallery view first so everybody can see everybody. See both of us. Good morning.
Good
It's Friday.
morning. Hello. Happy Friday. Happy Feng Shui Friday. And here
Yay.
we are with Anita and Cheryl.
Cheryl.
Boop, 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 do, do,
Doo,
do.
doo, doo. We're here.
And so,
How are
yeah,
you?
if you're
Yay.
just watching us for the first time or just joining us live for the first time, we, like to have some fun. We pop on here and we learn to use the F word. And how we do that is we pull a card from this deck, the Feng Shui,
Feng Shui.
Feng Shui. Yeah, it's Feng Shui, whatever you want to call it. Feng Shui.
Just
Feng
no, don't call
Shui,
us late for your line.
personal, paradise, card deck, Tara, Catherine Collins.
Yay!
Yay! Woo!
Woohoo! Yay, Tara.
The Western School of Feng Shui. Just want to do a shout out for that.
Yeah, you know what? While I'm shuffling and we're doing a shout out to that,
Yep.
Western School of Feng Shui certifies. So we need to a little plug here because in September, Miss
I will
Anita
be facilitating the Western School of Feng Shui Essential Feng Shui Certification Training.
Yay!
And so what that is, it's a 1 week long,
intensive,
full days intensive program that the Western School of Feng Shui has entrusted me to present to students so that they can use Feng Shui in their current practice, whatever they're doing. Maybe they can integrate it with some holistic therapies or other things that they're doing, and or become a certified essential Feng Shui practitioner like yours truly and
me.
Yeah.
And just a side note, Miss Anita is the only Canadian that has been certified, gifted, given the privilege of facilitating this program.
The privilege. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It is a privilege, and I totally love doing it. And I'm just putting, a little link there in the comments. Anybody wants to go there.
Hey.
And yeah, okay.
We have our card just come out. It is number 23 is the card deck. And the topic today is kitchens.
Is what?
Kitchens.
Oh, kitchens. Okay, well, just so happens I've been working on one of those.
Imagine that, how we manage to always bring up something that's happening right at the moment.
Yeah.
The heart of the home quite often, hey?
Yes.
Yes.
And it is the heart of the home. And so when you think about the kitchen, we think about preparing food, we think about, gathering. That's where we come together to share our stories, after a day's work, or, quite often the kitchens are the areas of home where people kind of gravitate towards, right? Even if you have a big dining room, living room, the open concept, people still gravitate to the island or whatever, just to have that conversation. So it really is kind of like the hub of the home. And what's interesting about kitchens too is, in previous cultures or other cultures, in indigenous, way back when, the kitchen or the area where they cooked was in the center of the home, right? Quite often. And that's the heat, the fire, the nourishment to cook the food, all of those things. It's a cool area. And so what do we need to look at with our feng shui eyes in the kitchen to make sure that we are optimizing the energy flow and the chi that is available in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Cheryl?
Well, I know for me, growing up in a very small home, the kitchen was always the busiest place in the house, next to the one
Mm-hmm.
bathroom for 9 people. But the kitchen area, and because I had older sisters, I was on the cleanup duty.
Hmm.
And I have one sister in particular, if she was baking, and she loved to bake, she's a very good cook, there was flour everywhere. And you had to take everything off the counter when you were cleaning. So
Mm-hmm.
I was conscious from a very young age about stuff on the counters
Ah.
and on the cupboards and on the island. And what is it like? What is with our culture that we have to line everything up out on the counter?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't need the toaster on the count, we don't need the blender. You don't need a whole bunch of stuff up there,
Yeah.
right? Because it's cluttered. And the idea of the counter space is to be able to
To do something.
prepare food. And here's really kind of an interesting thing about preparing food is that if you have that clean workspace, chances are you're going to be at a higher energy level when you're preparing, the supper, the dinner, the cookies or whatever. And that food is going to be infused with your energy imprint at that specific moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, if you're in a kitchen that you've got beautiful, lots of workspace, you've got easy access to all of the things that you need, then you're going to be joyful. You're going to be happy. You're going to infuse that food with more loving energy, more loving thoughts. And so, really, it's kind of like praying over your food. When we were kids, we always prayed over our food
Mm-hmm.
before a meal.
You ate. Yeah.
And so it's kind of like you're infusing that gratitude or that energy into your food as you're cooking it. Now, let's look at the opposite end of that. If you have a whole bunch of shit, pardon me, I probably shouldn't say that, all over your
Stuff,
space,
a different S word.
and the cupboards, you can't find this or that, and well, where the heck's that measuring spoon, or where's, so when then you're cooking, then it becomes frustrating.
The irritation level is higher.
Or it becomes, it gives you anxiety, or all of a sudden now you're tense.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as you start to tense up and have that frustration, then it kind of starts to snowball, right? It's kind of like
Totally.
that thing where, if you stub your toe in the morning and then you can't find your keys, and then, the whole day just kind of rolls like that. So it's the same kind of thing in the kitchen. If you're not able to find all of the things that you need, then it's like, and then next thing you know, the casserole's burnt, the husband's mad, the kids are crying because there's no dinner, right? And then it just keeps going and going.
Yes.
So how important is it to keep your kitchen, keep the spaces clean, free of clutter? And speaking of clutter, we have,
Mm-hmm.
what do we have coming up?
A 21-day decluttering challenge starting again. Yay!
Mm-hmm. Yay.
We're super excited, and we'll make some posts on that and in the upcoming weeks. But you're so true, Anita. And I know for a lot of people, when we did our last decluttering challenge, you went straight to your kitchen.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And how did that change and shift for you?
Well, it was really interesting because I keep a clean, tidy house, but yet there were some areas in the cupboards that just weren't flowing, where you had some things over here that it's like every time you went to get them, you had to reach or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I literally pulled everything out of the cupboards and, rearranged some things. And then what I discovered were that there were some things hiding in the kitchen cupboards that I hadn't used forever.
Mm-hmm.
And some things that I really had to look at and say, is this serving me? because really at the end of the day, all of that stuff is
Just to help.
there to serve us,
Exactly.
to keep us, in the flow. Good morning,
Hi,
Paula.
Paula.
And what's really interesting too, I kind of chuckled to myself, um, because as you know, I've been getting a rental property ready this week and
Mm-hmm.
going through the kitchen and stuff like that. And this past, um, the previous renters had left some things in the kitchen corner cupboard. That
Yep.
one that's really hard to
Hard to
reach
get
into the
at. Yep,
back,
you
that
betcha.
one. And I just chuckled because there was not one, but there were two toasters, and one was in a box. And
Wow.
it's funny because we've talked about this before many times, right?
Mm-hmm.
In some of our classes, it's like, when you're holding on to that extra toaster, and the reason why you're holding on to it is because, well, what if
If
that one breaks down
breaks.
someday, then I have another one,
Yeah.
right? And there's so many times we see that, especially in the kitchens where we, or people have an extra blender, an extra this or an extra, because what if
Mm-hmm.
it breaks down and I might need it someday? And so those are, like intentions that
It's going to break
you're
down.
putting that out there, that's actually going to come to fruition.
Exactly. Very true. I can remember having a conversation. I'd done a presentation, and some of the people that were there, we were talking about cluttering and organizing in the kitchen. And afterwards, the one young lady emailed me and said, "Oh my God, I went home and opened my drawers and counted not one, but seven whisks."
Oh, yeah.
How much space does one whisk take?
Hmm.
She had, so she, I think I have a whisk problem.
Yeah. Well,
But
and it's not,
really,
yeah,
I've
there's
seen
a,
the carousels with all
mhm,
the utensils in them,
yeah,
stuff so full, you pull out one thing and 8 come with it.
yep,
How frustrating is that?
yeah. And so that goes back to, having that clear workspace. So when
Yes.
you are preparing food and whatever, is it flowing
Hmm.
or is it frustrating? So I think those could be our F words for today, along with
Perfect.
Feng Shui, of course.
Exactly.
Is it frustrating or is it flowing?
Flowing
So take a look in your kitchen
with your feng
and
shui
really
eyes.
think about those two words today. And then think about, okay, what can I do to make it flow so that I'm flowing with joy? So
Yes.
I'm flowing with gratitude in my kitchen. And one other note I want to touch on too, Cheryl, in what we'd call traditional feng shui teaching, the stove is considered the um, the family's wealth
Hmm.
in the home. Okay, it's considered the anchoring the family's wealth in the home, the stove. And the reason why, and again, it goes back to what I said earlier about the indigenous cultures. In previous
Food.
times when
Hmm.
homes were simpler and the hearth or the cooking area of the home was in the center of the home,
Hmm.
right? And that's where people gathered and traded their stories and came up with their ideas and all of that. But also because um, the stove represents cooking our food to nourish our body.
Hmm.
And we've often said that, our health is our wealth, because without our health, you don't have wealth. And so to have that stove in the home that is functioning, that everything functions properly, that it works properly, that it's constantly, kept clean and all of that. And then the other thing is that the burners, when you heat up the burner on the stove, that's the fire element in feng
Hmm.
shui. So that activates the chi. And then what it does is when you put a pot or something on there, it amplifies or magnetizes, so it enhances that fire element. So it's really cool. And so there are some Feng Shui practitioners that might tell you out there to put a mirror behind your stove. Okay, so just on top of, the little shelf that you always stick stuff, and so that you can then double the chi for the wealth of the home. Okay, and you know what? That might work for some people. Although I think mirror, stove, grease, and cleaning, and then
And frustration
more
also
that makes
doubled.
it more frustrating, right? So that's an indication of the difference between traditional feng shui and essential feng shui, because a traditional feng shui practitioner might say, oh, you need that mirror behind your stove to double and increase your wealth, right?
Right.
And that would be, something people go, oh yeah, I need to have that. And then we would come in and say, okay, how is that working for you? And if the person says, oh my God, I don't like it, I have to, it gets so greasy, I'm always cleaning it, and then that becomes frustrating. That takes your energy down. So then, yeah, you know what? That's maybe not working. There's other things we can do
Right.
to enhance the wealth and prosperity.
Exactly, exactly. You touched on something quite important here that, and I know we're working on a class for people in the future of this, but the kitchen, as we know, the bathroom is very a watery environment.
Yeah.
And the kitchen is typically a very fiery environment. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You've already touched on that with all the electronics and the appliances. When we're talking about the water element or the fire element, it is part of the 5-element theory that we work with in essential feng shui as well. And that in and itself is a study, a lifelong study, in my opinion.
Oh, it is a lifelong study.
So just be aware that a beautiful sunny, like there's ways to help balance all that fire energy. And if you're finding, like Anita said, that everything gets dropped in the kitchen and everybody gathers in the kitchen and it's a small space and you're getting frustrated, it's fueling the fire energy is what's happening. You're bringing in all these books, you're bringing in all this stuff, and people are fire energy. And if the frustration is building in there, it's time to start balancing that energy, removing some of the fuel.
Yep.
Bringing in a couple of the other elements to help calm.
Right. And right now we have fires in Alberta, and the air is full
everywhere.
of smoke, and there's lots of fire. And so what do we need to douse the fire? We need water. Right. So similarly in our home, it's the same. And I love that, Cheryl, because you're absolutely right. So again, when we're looking through our feng shui eyes, we look at and we see what are the current results. Is there frustration or is there flow? Because the frustration, like you said, if there's too much fire energy, that could really start to, just like the kettle, and it starts to bubble and boil, and then pretty soon it just goes right. Yeah. Okay. So we could have just saved somebody's marriage right there. You know that?
That's very cool.
We could have just saved somebody's marriage. Okay.
Yeah. So we need to also talk about the number.
Yeah. Okay.
And the number was, today's card was 23.
23.
So it's a 5.
And it's a 2 and a 3.
Yes. Well, yeah. It's a 2 and a 3.
Well, it's no surprise that we, end up with a 5 number today.
No.
Because it's just people are feeling
this
right.
Energy.
They're feeling this change, and I think again we can use that same analogy in the kitchen of that bubbling pot. And I think for some people right now, they feel like things are, bubbling, and it's just, there's just a lot of that angst and frustration going on. And there's some things coming out in our world, right? Of things that we've been told, and then now we're being told something else. And, people are, feeling that frustration.
Yeah.
And so now we got to move out of that and let's just get in the flow, right?
And you know what? Our home, we can't do anything about the outside world.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Our home, we can.
Yep.
So maybe this week or this month or August coming up, join us for the 21-day decluttering challenge and start in your kitchen.
Well, and you know what? It's great because that's the thing. When we work on ourselves, when we work on our own inner world,
Exactly.
outer world,
Mm-hmm.
and we change our own energy, when we become grounded, when we become more joyful, when we become, just it feels good and it just feels easier, then we
Absolutely.
are, in fact, contributing to the collective, to the whole, and we are making a contribution. Yeah, we're contributing our beautiful energy so that maybe somebody else in our energy space is going to feel that peace or that
Mm-hmm.
calm. And so yeah, absolutely. Let's get in the kitchen and then let's get in there and have some fun too. Clear
Absolutely.
the space, make it fun and functional, and then have some people over and just get joyful. Yeah.
Most excellent. Thank you. There's a couple
Yeah.
other F words, functional. So we had
Yeah. Look
functional and frustration and flow and fun.
look
A
at us
whole
go.
whole lot of F's
Woohoo.
today.
Woohoo. Okay, well, you know what? It's the long weekend
It
here in
is.
Canada. So we want to make sure everybody drives safe and enjoys wherever you are
Some
in,
fun.
yeah, having fun with your family, maybe. Yeah. Oh,
Look at us roll.
anything
Woohoo!
else?
Um, no,
Oh,
other than thank you from
thank
Anita
you.
and I.
Yeah, and
We
if you
have a
have
lot of
to,
fun doing this. So
mhm,
we hope you enjoy it. We'd love to hear your comments or get feedback, or, maybe if there's something that you're a little confused about,
yeah,
right? We
yeah,
could be talking about things and you go, I don't know what the heck they're talking about. Put that in the comments too, because we'd love to address it. We want to help
hmm
clarify things for people. We don't want
hmm
to add to the frustration. We want to add to the flow. That is our
hmm
intention.
Yep, because we're
Yeah,
just go with the flow.
exactly.
Go with the flow. Okay, beautiful people. Thanks for
Woohoo.
joining us. And thanks for sharing and the replay and all that good stuff. And remember, see your kitchen through your feng
Feng
shui
Shui
eye.
eyes.
And we're going to dance our way out of here. Ba, 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 ba,
Ba,
ba,
ba,
ba.
ba.